Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Clean Energy Communities Round 2 webinar. We appreciate your time to join us today. Before I get started, just a couple of quick points. If you want to take a couple minutes to introduce yourself in the chat, that'd be really helpful. We'd love to hear who you are and which municipality you're with, and maybe a quick note about your role with that municipality. A couple of housekeeping points. We are going to, Nancy Bernstein and I will be introducing ourselves shortly and doing an overview of the presentation with some slides. And so we were asking for you to save the Q&A till the end. However, as we're going along, please feel free to enter any questions you have in the chat, and we will definitely get to them toward the end. Please stay muted during the presentation if possible. That's very helpful for us. Again, all questions you can add to the chat section. We will be recording this presentation, so if anybody has an issue with that, please let us know, but that recording in the slide deck will be available after the presentation. So I'm gonna dig in. Again, my name is Jennifer Perry, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself and my role in a couple of minutes, but Nancy Bernstein and I are both with the Adirondack North Country Association, or ANCA. We also have with us Lexi, who is our tech guru, who is behind the scenes making sure that everything runs smoothly. So she is been a great help to us. So for those of you who aren't familiar with ANCA, we have our office physically is located in the village of Saranac Lake. However, we serve 14 counties north of I-90, basically. For the purposes of this grant, for the NYSERDA grant and most NYSERDA programs, however, we serve 7 counties in the North Country, and we'll get into that as well in a few minutes. A little bit about ANCA. We are dedicated to ANCA, the general whole program is really dedicated toward developing a rural economy that works for everyone, for all individuals in the North Country. We have some really exciting and innovative programs that we're working on right now to really ensure that we are reaching every person in the North Country in a way that's equitable and fair and in line with protecting our pristine and beautiful rural environment up here. There's a concept that some of you might have heard of that's called new economy. And the general basis of new economy is that it's kind of turning things on their head, where economic development starts at the ground level, at the grassroots level, and works its way up. So we are very dedicated to a new economy approach in our rural economic development. At this point in time, we have 3 general buckets of programs. One is food systems. The energy economy is another program, which clearly we're a part of. And the third is the entrepreneurial economy. So if at any point, any of your, any municipal leaders or there's any needs in your communities that you're aware of, if it's from a business perspective, local food systems perspective, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to put you in touch with the appropriate people. We have an absolutely stellar staff who work very tirelessly to bring really great programs to the North Country and great approaches. So the energy program, again, that's Nancy and I are in the energy program, and we are administrators of many NYSERDA programs. This one particularly is called the Clean Energy Communities Program, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes what that means. But we also work very closely with a program that helps to bring clean energy funding, clean energy programs, clean energy technical assistance to businesses, not-for-profits, and residential customers with a special focus on low to moderate income customers. So we do have a program dedicated to that. If you're interested and would like to learn more, we're happy to talk about it. We also do a fair amount with electric vehicles, especially one program right now where we're doing a lot of stakeholder engagement. Some of you might have already heard from or met with Jared Bly, where we are looking to really address the needs for a low to moderate income approach to electrification of transportation in the North Country, among many, many other things in the EV bucket. And just before we get into this, so you understand as well, this is one specific program that is offered by NYSERDA. However, we in general are available. We have an energy circuit rider model, modeled after the Tug Hill Circuit Rider program. Thank you very much for that. And we are able to really offer technical assistance and support for a really broad range of municipal needs, regardless of the Clean Energy Communities program. So this opportunity that we're all here to learn about today, this is round 2 of NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities. Some of you, many of you are probably familiar very intimately with round 1. Round 1 was incredibly successful. I've administered many NYSERDA programs, and this is by far the best administered, the most appropriate. It does a great job at addressing and responding to needs of local communities. So this round 2, they're calling the Leadership Round, and it will be a 5-year program. So Clean Energy Community, this is right where we need to be. Lexi, I'm sorry, I'm not telling you to advance slides, but I will start doing that now. So Clean Energy Communities, again, this is for municipalities specifically. And if you were familiar with round 1, it was pretty straightforward. This round 2, the Leadership Round, is a bit more complex. Nancy and I are here to support you along with multiple coordinators from across the state as you decide what path you want to follow. It's nice though, because it does offer a broader range of opportunities for a broader range of municipalities, including those who have already participated in round 1 and have taken advantage of grants already. So there's flexible grant funding, which we can talk about with no local cost share, which is always great. Free coordinator support, that's Nancy and I. And I will also mention that there is a third person coming on board at some point in the near future. And a recognition for leadership for your community in the clean energy realm, which is very helpful and very important. Next slide. There are a lot of benefits to becoming a clean energy community, and what we find, Nancy and I, one of the most exciting parts of our job is to meet with municipalities and hear what is it that you want to do? What are your goals and what are your interests? And again, the beauty of this program is that it really has the ability to match up with what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So a CEC designation can create a pathway to lower utility bills, which we know all municipalities are interested in. We hear that all of the time. How can I save the municipality money? How can I save our taxpayers money? How can I save our residents money? So in our small businesses. It can provide a funding for clean energy projects, which we'll get into, and definitely spurs local green jobs with CEC project dollars. Nancy and I hear from contractors on a regular basis who have innovative programs that we know you would like to hear about. So we're regularly in contact with them and learning more about what they have to offer. Next slide. So, of course, I'm going to say this, the best part of this program is that you have access to clean energy community coordinators. And I can tell you from round 1 that Nancy, myself, and another person, this was most of what we did was really working with the municipalities closely to offer sometimes it's just moral support, getting on the phone, talking through different thoughts and approaches. There are a tremendous number of resources and toolkits available for you. Many of them, most of them at this point in time are available on the CEC website, which we will show you as we go along. But also, if you ever have something you're trying to work on, if you reach out to us, we can definitely share resources and toolkits with you to help accomplish many of the action items, which we're also going to talk about. We're also here to help you make your decisions for, again, what is right for your community. We're never going to tell you what to do, but we are going to possibly steer you in directions that you may not have considered and help you make your own decisions. We can help you to present the CEC program to your stakeholders. We have our own, like we said, resources and templates that are available for your customization if you'd like. And we are also available to assist you with your CEC grant application. And in situations where you are able to apply funding for a clean energy grant, we can help you identify what that grant might look like. We've done a fair amount of that kind of work in the future, or in the past as well. Next slide. So just some more specifics. Well, that's one too many. You can go back one, Lexi. Some specifics that we have done in the past and continue to do now. We attend board meetings. We have typically gone in person, but definitely are doing them in Zoom on a regular basis. Also one of our favorite things to do. We can assist you with your submission of action items, which Nancy will explain shortly what that means. We can provide you with tools and analyses. So perhaps you're thinking, we had one community contact us about a really potentially exciting investment in a piece of electric equipment, and we can sit down and say, okay, if you spend this much money, but you're going to electrify, you can save this much money over time, and your payback will happen at this point in time. Nancy does a lot of great work with streetlight analyses on this level too. We can assist with grants for actions that cost money. So, same thing, cost benefit analysis, and explain also other funding opportunities that might be out there, whether it be through National Grid or NYPA or NYSEG. We do a lot with the local utilities. And that could also include financing as well as funding. Those are a couple of buckets that we will help with. And we will help you submit your documentation for your actions. There is a very streamlined, straightforward portal through NYSERDA that you can access, that if you're uncomfortable doing, we are more than happy to assist you with that process. Before I turn it over to Nancy, this is our staff. You at some point may hear Jared Bly's name. He is our program director. Again, he is right now pretty heavily invested in the electric vehicle LMI stakeholder engagement. Nancy, who you'll hear from shortly, and my name is Jennifer Perry again. And those are the counties that Nancy and I are serving at this point in time. And somewhere out there is our new coordinator. They will be focusing on Jefferson and St. Lawrence County, but the best thing for now is just to reach out to us, and we certainly can steer you in the right direction. So I'm going to pass this off to Nancy now.
Great. Can everybody hear me? Or Jennifer, can you hear me since you can answer me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. All right, well, let's get into the nitty gritty of the Clean Energy Communities Leadership Round. And next slide, thank you, Lexi. It is a little bit more complicated than the first round for those of you who did participate in the first round, but in some ways, it's a little bit better. It's a little more equitable, and we hope works smoothly for everybody. So as Jennifer mentioned, there are $17 million in grants available throughout the state. That's not all coming to the North Country, but that's quite a bit of money. In the new round, there's more resources, more toolkits that are being made available to everybody. A lot of guidance, a lot of really trying to tailor the program for you as a municipal leader. And one of the greatest things is it provides recognition for your leadership, and that's an important aspect of the program. So next slide. So how does the leadership round work? There are the same high impact actions that there were in the first round for those of you familiar with it, but there's a few more as well. And I believe there are 13 actions in total, and each action by itself is a worthwhile thing to do. Each one has the potential to save energy, whether it's specifically to save energy for the municipality, or whether it's to save energy for your residents, or to save or stimulate the renewable energy economy. So the program works with points. Each action has points assigned to it that when you accumulate enough, you can unlock these grants. And as well, when you earn enough or complete enough of the action items, you earn recognition and get to be called a Clean Energy Communities. Next slide. So the point system, these points together can, as I mentioned, build grants. As the slide says, there are up to $250,000 for large communities and up to $100,000 in these points-based grants for smaller ones. And just to be clear, large communities are communities that have a population of over 40,000 people. We only have 4 of these communities in the North Country, and they are all counties. So if you're not from Jefferson, St. Lawrence, Clinton, or Franklin counties, then you are a small community. And that obviously is the majority of our municipalities in the North Country. And as Jennifer mentioned, the North Country is something specific to NYSERDA. It is it is 7 counties only, even though we might consider, you know, other parts of the Adirondacks or even north of I-90 as North Country. We're only referring to the 7 county North Country. So everybody on this call, I believe, except for maybe a few extras, are from those 7 counties, and I'll name them just so it's clear, but it's Lewis County, St. Lawrence County, Jefferson County, Franklin County, Clinton County, Essex County, and Hamilton County. So that's what the North Country is. As well as the points-based grants, there are action grants, and there are also designation grants. So a lot of different kinds of grants, and we'll get into the specifics of that in a few minutes. So next slide, please. So how do these point systems work? As you complete a high impact action, you earn points. And then as you build up the points, then you can apply for state grants. And the more energy an action saves, the more points that you earn. So each action is assigned a number of points that kind of show its value to NYSERDA or to the state on how important an action they think it is to save energy or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So the more points, the bigger grants. And as this last bullet says, this grant or this program still is a first come, first served kind of program that, but it is a little bit better than the first round in that there are more grants, albeit they're smaller, but there are more grants so that more communities can tap into them. But once they're gone, they're gone. So the high impact actions. Next slide, please, next, Lexi. Each high impact action reduces energy consumption. That's a really important thing to remember. So even if a municipality only does one action, you're benefiting your community by doing so. Which ones that you choose to do is another matter, and that's something that we as clean energy communities coordinators can help you decide. But each high impact action also stimulates the economy, and as I mentioned, it helps you earn points to receive grant funding. Next slide, please. High impact actions, they are energy saving activities that you can do to earn the points, grants, recognition. This is kind of repeating itself, but when you complete 4 high impact actions, then you can earn your CEC designation, and you can put it right on the front of your website that you are Clean Energy Communities. And the best part is you earn a $5,000 grant right off the bat. So it's worthwhile to become Clean Energy Communities designated. Because that grant is probably one of the easiest ways to earn some of the funding. Next slide, please. So these are our high impact actions. There are a number of them. As I said, it's 13 in total. Each action even has sub-actions that you can complete. So you don't have to complete everything within each action, but each sub-action is, once you complete it, that's one of the 4 for becoming CEC designated. So I'm going to run through the actions in brief. Each high impact action could have a webinar in itself to explain all the nuances, but I just want everybody to understand what the actions are. So the first one, starting on the left, the Unified Solar Permit, entails adopting a standardized permit application designed to streamline the approval process for installing solar in your community. This is for residential and small commercial installations that are less than 25 kilowatts. So it's a smaller, like I said, a smaller solar installations to streamline the process for contractors. The next one, Energy Code Enforcement Training. The Energy Code is a New York State mandated code that is a building standard for energy efficiency applicable to new construction and renovation of commercial and residential buildings. So the training that is involved is a NYSERDA training. It's free, and it is designed to improve energy code compliance by your code officials. To complete this action item, at least one of your code officials needs to attend an 8-hour session. And again, it's free for the municipality. So it's That's a fairly easy one and a popular one for municipalities to go for. The third one, PACE financing. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. And this type of financing is a program adopted by an eligible local government that allows property owners to pay back the cost of clean energy upgrades to their commercial or nonprofit property over a term that can be as long as 30 years and is secured through a benefit assessment lien on the improved property. So that's a lot to digest at once. PACE financing is a great thing, but in the North Country, this high impact action is only available to counties just because of the authority that the municipality is given. And if you're a county and you haven't considered PACE and you're on this call, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. The next one down, clean energy upgrades. They are energy efficiency and renewable energy projects in a municipal buildings that are done to improve your municipal building. State programs can help get these projects accomplished with no or low upfront cost while generating net savings. The upgrades need to demonstrate a minimum of 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And these may be accomplished by enrolling in a community hydro or community solar project. Clean heating and cooling demonstration. Clean heating and cooling technologies such as ground and air source heat pumps provide environmental benefits, energy bill savings, increased comfort levels, and health benefits compared to oil, propane, or natural gas. If you can convert a municipal building to a heat pump system, that demonstrates your leadership in your community, and NYSERDA rewards you with points for this action. Moving to the next column, 100% renewable electricity. This recognizes a local government's commitment to purchasing and retiring renewable energy credits, also known as RECs, through an ESCO that offers 100% clean, renewable New York State product. This is different than community solar or rooftop solar, and we'd be happy to explain the difference. LED streetlights. Now, I know a lot of communities in the North Country are starting to convert your streetlights to LED. This is great. LED in streetlights reduces energy and generates cost savings while also contributing to a well-lit, safer, and more attractive community. Municipalities may choose to own their streetlights, or they can choose to work with the utility to convert to LED. And points are given for both Cobra Head, which are your roadway lights, and also to decorative streetlights. If your community has already converted your streetlights, then we can apply that as a completed action item. Benchmarking. Benchmarking is a policy that a local government adopts that requires the annual reporting of energy used in municipal buildings. Measuring and sharing data on building energy helps to identify opportunities to cut energy waste, and is a great thing to do. It has no cost to the municipality, and your coordinators, us, Jennifer and I, and we are available to assist with implementing this action. Clean fleets. That is an effort by local governments to purchase or lease electric vehicles and infrastructure, while also increasing opportunities for your constituents to access EV charging stations. Jennifer and I can assist with accessing grant opportunities and utility make-ready programs to make this a very affordable thing to do. Climate smart communities. This is a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation program that guides municipalities' efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and builds community resilience to climate change. Points are awarded for both bronze and silver certification. Moving on to the next column, community choice aggregation. Again, this can deserve a webinar in itself, but in short, community choice aggregation puts control of choosing energy supply in local hands by entrusting local government to select where the energy comes from for their community members. CCAs, or community choice aggregations, can have a huge impact on promoting clean energy by ensuring that a greater percentage comes from renewable sources. And that's why NYSERDA rewards with up to 2,000 points, which is the biggest point earner. The next one down, New York Stretch Energy Code. This is New York Stretch is a slightly more stringent energy code than the energy code that is mandated by the state. And it's about one cycle ahead of its requirements than the next mandated New York State Energy Code, because the Energy Code kind of jumps up in its stringency about every 3 or 4 years. So that New York Stretch is one ahead of the existing Energy Code. It's readily adoptable, the New York Stretch Code, and it's shown to provide about 11% by lowering, or sorry, provide 11% savings to the building owner by lowering energy use and greenhouse gas emissions that are associated with these new and existing buildings. So New York Stretch Code is something that the municipality would adopt that would provide a little bit more stricter codes than already exist. And this is the one action item that must be adopted before December 31st, 2021. And our last action is the community campaigns. These are short-term local efforts to encourage adoption of a new and innovative technologies that generate value and savings for consumers. Campaigns include community solar, electric vehicles, and clean heating and cooling. To be eligible for points or a bonus action grant, which I'll get into in a few minutes, municipalities must submit a community campaign scoping document before launching their campaign. So that's a lot to be said on these high impact actions. There's lots of information on the NYSERDA's website, in their guidance document, and Jennifer and I will be able to provide all kinds of details on each individual action item. Let's go on to the next slide, please. And I think at this point, we're going to be talking about grants, and I'm turning it over to you, Jennifer.
Yes, excellent. A couple of points I want to bring up before I jump in, based on the high impact action items that Nancy just discussed and described. If your head is spinning and you're like, whoa, again, Nancy and I are here to help you work through those. Some of the more complicated action items like CCA, like PACE, and like New York Stretch, the region has available several subject matter experts that are already meeting with our municipalities. We've already set up several meetings with these individuals to dig into those action items in a lot more detail. So that is something that we also will be more than happy to make connections for you. And the second point is that some of these action items, if you're thinking, wow, we already did that, but we didn't submit it as part of our round one program, or for whatever, you've accomplished an action item that you think will get you points, there are some retroactive submissions available. Please reach out to Nancy and I, and we will explain to you which ones can still be submitted, and we'll explain to you the process on how to get credit for those action items. So yes, the grants, that's what everybody, of course, is always interested in. If you are familiar with round one, it was pretty straightforward. There was a $5,000 designation grant. If you submitted 4 action items, it did not matter which 4 action items. If you did them, you got a $5,000 designation grant. That still stands. If you did not get any grant money in round one, you are eligible for a designation grant in round 2. The second bit is a action grant, which I'll explain in a couple of seconds in more detail, and then the point-based grants. So in round 1, there's a designation grant for $5,000, and then depending on your population and depending on what point you got into the grant queue, you received a pretty sizable chunk of money to complete a clean energy project. Several of our municipalities are in the process of implementing those projects, and that has ranged from insulating of a highway garage to streetlight conversions, to HVAC upgrades, to electric vehicle purchases. We've had some pretty exciting projects get completed because of those grants. So the way that you get money in this round, again, designation grant still stands. Next slide. Is Nancy mentioned the action grant, so that there's a community campaign arm for that, and then there's New York Stretch. So for community campaigns, it is up to 800 points. The best I can tell you, if you're trying to navigate, there's a lot of if this, then that's. When you're looking at points and how much money you can get, population's a factor, what you actually accomplish is a factor. If you want to get into the CEC website, that's very helpful. The PON is basically the Bible for this entire program. However, again, please reach out to Nancy and I, and we're happy to explain to you what your options are and what your pathway would be to points, which I'll explain in a couple of minutes. Community campaigns, again, as Nancy mentioned, but I'm going to restate, means community solar. This is not Solarize. Some folks are familiar with the Solarize model from before, not even part of CEC necessarily, but this is not Solarize. This is community solar, where there's a remotely sited solar array and subscriptions happen on the community scale. And we would be happy to set you up to talk to somebody who is coordinating those campaigns, or again, just to discuss the options for you. But there are several ways that a municipality can benefit for those campaigns, community solar campaigns, above and beyond the CEC program. You could also do a campaign for electric vehicles, again, as Nancy has mentioned, but just to reiterate, there's a clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency path, and then there's a community campaign for demand response. And again, for this one, you do not have to be CEC designated to take advantage of the grant. A little bit more detail in terms of how you can access those action grants. Nancy did illustrate Franklin, Clinton, Jefferson, and St. Lawrence counties are the ones who are the larger population, and even though they're designated, you are still eligible for these action grants into the future. So I'll leave that for just a couple seconds for you to process the numbers. However, again, just going on to the CEC website is the best thing you can do. Next slide, please. The second action grant is New York Stretch, which Nancy explained. And same with this situation, you have access to a subject matter expert. We've already set up several meetings with Mike in the North Country to discuss this. We have several municipalities very interested in moving forward. Lots of points for this. Again, talking about points in a few minutes and what that means, but there is money available to help support adoption of New York Stretch. To reiterate, CEC is not designation. CEC designation is not required for a New York Stretch action grant. Next slide, please. So some more details on how much money is available for population. And for the most part, I would not worry about the availabilities of grants, because especially on the small scale, there's plenty of grants out there. Next slide. Designation grants is the most straightforward path. This is if you complete 4 high impact actions, it does not matter what they are, you become a CEC designated community, and one time you have access to a $5,000 designation grant. This does not require any hoops to be jumped through. There's no cost share. They do ask for you to say briefly what you think you're going to spend the money on. However, the accessing the grant money is not a very complicated process. Nancy and I are happy to help you through that. Next slide. Okay, so the most complicated to navigate is the point-based grants, because each action has, as Nancy mentioned, specifics, requirements, and some of them have sub-actions that you can take. And there are a lot of criteria that depend on how many points are available for that action item. We are able to help you if you have an interest in pursuing a point-based grant. Nancy and I have tools and resources to help pave a pathway to those points. Not every action is available to every municipality, so we are able and happy to help you make those decisions and to figure out the most straightforward, streamlined way for you to get the most points possible. As you recall from the slide Nancy showed, each action item has variable numbers of points. The 3 levels of threshold, and again, this is all on the CEC website in the PON, the Program Opportunity Notice, that's what PON stands for, is 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000. And at each level of an accumulation of points, you become eligible for an increasing number of dollars to be applied to a clean energy dedicated grant. And again, just to say this again, some actions can be submitted retroactively to give you points, but it depends. So 3,000 points, again, that's the first threshold. The differentiation between large and small, large being 40,000, where they're the 4 counties, small being under 40,000, and the first threshold for 3,000 points is a $10,000 grant. And it goes up from there. Small, we'll just highlight that for now because that will be the most of our communities, is 20,000. That's for 4,000 points. And then at 5,000 points, you're eligible for $70,000. Okay, next slide, Lexi, please. And one more after that. And I'm going to pass it back to Nancy. Next slide, please. Thanks.
Can we have the next slide, Lexi, please? Great. And I would just add a few things to what Jennifer said about grants. The points-based grants, and maybe you mentioned this, Jen, but I just wanted to make it clear that they're cumulative. So if if a municipality works to get 3,000 points and they get a $10,000 grant, they can then take that $10,000 grant and invest it in completing another couple action items to get them to the 4,000 point threshold. They get a $20,000 grant that they can then invest, to do a couple more action items to get them to the $5,000 threshold, and then they get the big $70,000 grant. So it's a lot of work, but it can be done, and that's how it really builds upon itself. And I like that part about the new leadership round. The other thing I would just mention about changes in grants from the first round, Jen, and I apologize if I missed you saying this, that if the municipality is just getting a $5,000 grant, they don't have to put in an application for that money. They just have to send a letter to NYSERDA with their intent of how to spend the money. So it's simplifying it and making it more streamlined. Another way that NYSERDA is making their grant process more streamlined is if it's over $5,000 and you have a project in mind that is on their list of prescribed projects, like putting solar panels on on the roof of one of your buildings, or something pretty streamlined project, they have prescriptive grant applications, which are going to make it a lot simpler for you, and that's something that everybody wants. There's also a disadvantaged community bonus. So there's a map, NYSERDA has a map of what they are identifying as disadvantaged communities. That's what they go by. And if your project that you identify for your municipality is located in one of the disadvantaged communities, you get extra money. So that's just something that's kind of on top of it. But nonetheless, let's speak about communities from round one. During Clean Energy Communities round one, there were approximately 600 communities that participated. 300 earned Clean Energy Communities designation. And I'd like to speak about one of my favorites, which is the town of Blackbrook in Clinton County. So John Douglas, hopefully you're on the call right now, but John wanted to speak about his experience during round one, what Blackbrook was able to accomplish, and his plans for the leadership round. Oh, Lexi says he doesn't see him. Is John under another name? John, if you are, could you maybe put your name in the chat so we can unmute you? I know they were planning to get on. Let's see if, no luck? Is it possible, I'm just looking, okay, under Ben. Did you wanna, well, I'm not sure, let's see. I'm just, maybe Lexi, could you try to unmute everybody, and then if briefly.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, I'm sorry, I apologize. Must be Ben was the last one to sign in, and I got on, it's put me underneath Ben.
Well, no problem.
So yeah, so Nancy asked me to just briefly join in today and kind of give a brief description of what Blackbrook's experience was with the first round, and then just to kind of go through what the benefits were. I do have to just back up a little bit. So as you're sitting here and all this information is being thrown at you and you're kind of probably being overwhelmed and all that, rest assured, I can tell you from experience that Nancy Bernstein and ANCA has made this such a simple process that it's almost effortless on the municipal's part. So she came to a few of our board meetings. I can tell you that Blackbrook is a very proactive town when it's part of energy, and we got probably sometimes Nancy scratches her head and says, you know, you guys got pretty ambitious goals and so on and so forth. But I can tell you this, that in the first round, we did 4 of the high impact actions, which were very simple. We did the energy code enforcement. We did the training. We did the clean fleet. We put in a charging station, which I have to tell you that we had some of our longtime residents think that we were crazy putting a charging station in Blackbrook. And if you're familiar with Blackbrook, we're a very large town, but population-wise, we're very small. We're the smallest population-wise in Clinton County. To many surprise, we have had a lot of people stop in Blackbrook, charge their car, go over and utilize our playground, or go to our local convenience store, or we're just getting them to stop in our community and start walking around, which has benefits that sprout just endlessly. So that was a good choice on our part. The benchmarking was, again, pretty effortless, and we did a unified solar permit. So what that all did at the end of the day is that made us eligible for a $50,000 grant, which we chose, which like Nancy explained, you can use it for multiple things. We chose to use it to do LED street lighting, and we're in the process of implementing that right now. And here was a couple positive spin-offs from that. So as we started to get into the process, we created and developed a street lighting policy, which I don't know if, I believe most communities are probably in the same situation. If you were to do an inventory of your street lights, you will find a lot of them were placed for political purposes in the past. They were either put in front of somebody's house or something else that served no real purpose, in our opinion, to the whole street lighting theory. We, as a result of that, we are going to end up deleting about almost 20 streetlights, but we're also adding streetlights in certain intersections and so on and so forth. So the end goal at the end of the day is we're going to have a safer, a better lit community, a safer community, and a more energy efficient. And we hope that will maintain one of the street lighting line items in our budget. So there's so many benefits when it comes to that. We also were fortunate enough, and you'll see in one of the slides, that we put a solar array on our town hall. That solar array will probably, and it's estimated to cover about 70% of our consumption. We did end up putting $8,000 because we only got $50,000, and I say only, and we're very appreciative to get the $50,000. But we set aside $24,000 of that grant money to put a solar array on. Well, when it came time and we were getting ready to put the solar array on, we found that we had enough room on our roof to put a whole nother length or a whole nother row of solar that would offset our usage. So we ended up, we're going to put $8,000 of our own money into that solar array, but the payback is it's going to be tremendous. And it's just the right thing to do because I believe in solar. So that was the positives and some of the, just a short brief thing of what happened with the first round. We are going to participate in the second round. We are currently working on the community choice aggregation. I personally highly recommend this. It's not that it's going to make a life-changing event for any of our residents, but our main goal is that every penny that we can keep in our residents' pocket will only make our community stronger and make their quality of life better. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we're really supposed to be doing. So we're in the process of doing the community choice aggregate, and it just so happens, and we didn't know it at the time, but we were planning on putting the split units in, the electric split units. So we are actually in the process right now doing our floor plan and stuff for our town hall, and we're looking at doing the clean heating and cooling. So just to revert back just a little bit. So as this whole process, and it made us more aware, we're talking with Nancy and ANCA all the time. We have, in the meantime, we've put all LED lights in our town hall. We put LED lights in our town garage. So there's a natural savings just by default when we do everything LED. I just highly recommend that anybody do not hesitate to participate in this program. It really, ANCA is such a great resource that they make it almost effortless to participate, and the benefits are going to be long lasting. I mean, it's going to be good for our community, it's good for our budgets, and it's good for the environment. So with all that said, if anybody's got any questions or anything, or they'd like, that was pretty much my brief summary. Other than that, I'll turn it back over to you, Nancy.
Thank you very much, Ben. We got a new identity for you, John. Thank you. Yeah, Blackbrook has really been a great leader in our region. You know, the little community that accomplishes big things, and we look forward to seeing what Blackbrook can do in the leadership round, because as everybody should be aware, clean energy communities is not, you know, even if you've received designation and a grant in round one, you're still eligible to work towards a grant under the leadership round. You know, this slide is got the NYSERDA website for clean energy communities. We also sent that same website to you, I believe, in an email this morning or yesterday afternoon, and we will send it to you again. But that's a great way to understand the program. There's all kinds of resources available from that initial web page, and we encourage you to look at it and to reach out to us. So next slide, please, Lexi. Here are our contact information for Jennifer and myself. And when we have our third Clean Energy Communities Coordinator hired, we will be making that information available as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us again by email, by phone, whatever which way you want. And we will connect you, you know, hopefully make a one-on-one meeting with you where we can really talk about the needs of your own community and how best to move forward. So with that, Jennifer, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I do not. Just looking forward to any questions you have.
Great. So I'm not sure we have any questions in the chat. Does anybody, you know, I would encourage you at this point to put something out there, and you know, it's your chance to hear, you know, your questions might be useful for everybody. So as simple as they may be. I'm just running through the chat messages to see if there's anything I missed. And if anybody, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to answer, Susan asked the question about the slides, and absolutely including a recording and links to various resources. So yes, slides will be available.
Okay, and I'll read the next question from Hannah at Essex County. As I assume, Hannah, you're speaking about Essex County yourself, or maybe another smaller community who's interested in installing EV charging stations. Is there a grant program that would pay for the stations themselves, or would this investment be toward the 4 high impact items to gain points towards grants? So that's a multiple of questions. Yes, there are definitely grants available to help pay for the stations. There's NYSERDA has a grant, the Department of Environmental Conservation has a grant to pay for the equipment. also the various utilities have the Make Ready programs, which help. They don't pay for the actual station itself, but it helps to get the electricity to the station. So, there's money available there, and this is a great time to install an EV charging station because there's a lot of incentives. And then the next part of your question, Hannah, was, would this investment be toward the 4 high impact action items to gain points towards the grants? And that is yes, a definite yes. If you installed an EV charging station prior to this leadership round launch, which was January 26th, 2021, then you, if you already submitted that action item, then you can get 100 points towards the your points-based grants. You are also, if you did so prior, if you have a older EV charging station, you can also install a second EV charging station somewhere in your municipality and get more points for it. So NYSERDA is really promoting new actions, and they will reward you for both. And you only need to get 4 high impact action items to get that designation grant. So that's a good one to do. Next one from Jim. If your town was designated clean energy communities in round 1, how does that affect your approach to this round? Good question. As I mentioned earlier, you're definitely still eligible for all the grants most of the grants that you were in round 1. Since the town of Keene, which I know Jim is from the town of Keene, you are already designated, so you cannot receive that $5,000 designation grant again. That's already you've already received that, but you can use all the actions that you did during round 1 and gain points for them towards points-based grants in the leadership round. And we can look at everything that your community has done in the past and see how it can be used to approach the leadership round points. And if that didn't answer your question enough, Jim, let me know. Let's see. Okay. Just jumping ahead from Jeff, could we spend a few minutes talking more about how past high impact actions accomplished by the town affects new action items? Aha. Okay, so maybe Jeff, I answered your question already that you can't get Elizabethtown can't get another $5,000 grant designation grant because you already received one during round 1. But again, just to repeat, in case I didn't make it clear, that any of your actions that you took under the first round can be used to build up points for the points-based grant in round 2. And then the action grants for the 2 actions that we mentioned earlier, New York Stretch Energy Code and community campaigns, every municipality is eligible to do one of those actions that receive an action grant. So hopefully that answered questions. And if it would be easier, I believe everybody can unmute themselves. If it would be easier to ask your question, I encourage you to unmute yourself and ask. Or if you have more questions, please mention them in the chat. Jen, did you have anything you wanted to add to my answers?
No, you're spot on. No, you're doing great.
Because if we don't have more questions, I wanted to mostly thank everybody for attending. And I encourage you all to reach out to Jennifer and I, depending on which county you're from. I mean, even if you just get one of us and it needs to go to the other, we'll take care of that. But just reach out to either of us, and we will be happy to meet with you one-on-one and figure out what's best for your community and help you get some of that grant money and make some improvements to your community. Thank you very much to John Douglas for giving a passionate description of what's been going on in Blackbrook. and to Lexi for helping us out with this webinar. And to that, I would say we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.